Alright, welcome back to another video, guys. We're going to be working on our 2010 Dodge Journey again, and we're going to be doing the trailer hitch today. So I'm going to show you how to get the trailer hitch on, how to do the wiring harness, and then we got a nice little receiver to put in at the end. This hitch came with a nice kit, all the bolts, all the hardware required, and some instructions. Definitely read the instructions through thoroughly before installing any kind of item like this. So, first part of this installation is going to be to remove this back fascia. So we're going to get started. Alright guys, so we got that fascia off. So we started over here at the wheel well. We popped all of these little clips out. And then once we popped those out, right up in here there was an 8mm screw. And then a little further back here we had a 7mm screw. Same thing on each side. So just these two little guys right here. 7mm on the left and the 8mm on the right. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove this back bumper brace. It's going to be replaced by the hitch itself. And if you look in here, that's the bolts that we're after. So there's 3 of them. So we're going to spray that with lots of WD-40 and attack those in a moment. Alrighty, there we go. So we took all those bolts off. This one snapped on each side, but that's alright. We're not going to need those again. So that guy's off and garbage now. And now we're going to go on to installing the actual hitch. But we might need to drop those exhausts first, so I'm going to take a look. So here's our hardware that came in the kit. We've got a few bolts, these plates, some nuts and washers. And then you'll notice these extra pieces of wire. We're going to secure the wire to the screw and use it to pull it through the frame like they show in the diagram here. So we've got 3 screws per side. These plates are going to stop these screws from rotating, and we'll be able to tighten these nuts down onto that. So I'll show you how that's done. So we got our first 2 bolts in here, guys. So just gonna give you a little close up on that. So you can see that's just slid in there like so. And we got our washer and nut on the bottom. Alright guys, so you can see we've got our bumper on. We replaced our brace with it. If you don't want to drop the exhaust, this ratchet came in very handy. It allows the longer bolt to go all the way through your socket and gives you a very low profile of access. So I really recommend using one of these low profile tools for tightening your bolts. Alright, so the next step is I'm going to trim this fascia. We need to trim the fascia to clear that receiver now. So I've got it just kind of mocked up on there, and I'm going to lay some lines on there and reference the instructions, and we're just going to cut that out with a hacksaw after. Alright guys, so we got our bumper all trimmed around here now. We're going to go ahead and finish fastening this back in. So we're going to reuse all of our plastic clips that we removed earlier, put in our 7mm and 8mm screws, and then we're going to tackle the wiring. Okay guys, so there we go. We've got our bumper all mounted back on now. Our rear fascia is all good to go. Looks nice. We even got our receiver in there. So now we're going to work on part 2. So part 2 is going to be installing all the lights. I'll show you how that's done. Okay guys, so I've taken our tail light off here. Got our soldering iron warming up down there. And so I've checked out our instructions, and you can have a 2-wire or a 3-wire system. This happens to be a 2-wire system. 1 wire being ground, 1 wire being the lights, and the other wire being the brake and the turn signal. A 3-wire would have the brake and the turn signal separate on their own line. I know there's 3 wires there, but it's a little bit confusing maybe, so that's why I figured I'd touch on that for you. So if you see in our instructions here, 2-wire and 3-wire system. Okay. You'll also notice that I've stripped some of the wiring off, some of the coating off the wire here. They have these little clips in the hardware. You can use those if you want, but I'd prefer to solder these connections and know that I'm not going to have any issues down the road. Okay, so I'm going to work on getting that soldered with the 2-wire connection. Okay guys, just checking in now. We got some of this wiring taken care of. So as you can see, we traced back which wire was which. So in this case, our green wire, that was our brake and our turn signal, and then this purple wire, that was our lights, and the black was just our ground. So we're able to trace this into this grommet and add our own extra hole into this grommet. You can just pull this grommet right out, no problem, and do as you please with it. So I was able to add an extra hole for the wires that we needed, and then took off all of these panels here. So the 2 middle ones, top and bottom, those just pop in and out. This side upper one though had a couple funny screws to get out. We had to pop this shoulder belt off, and so that shoulder belt here, that was a large Torx bit, I think a T50. Then we also had a Torx screw right there, and we had one overhead. So 3 screws to remove that upper white panel. Then we stuck our box in here and we're able to run our green wire all the way to our other tail light. So again, we just punched through the grommet and spliced into this wire here. So now that all our splices are done, we're just going to add that white ground wire in, and this is going to be all ready to start buttoning up. Alright guys, so just to review here, we got our hitch on now, we got our wiring done, so we're able to mount our wiring harness inside of the compartment here. We've wired up our wires to the left side and to the right side, and then we also had to run a power wire all the way through the vehicle, and we just ran it all the way through these. These just popped right off and then slid through here all the way up to a little grommet in the firewall here, and then up through the fender. Now if you look under here, we're going to just attach this to here and find a nice way to run this cleanly. We've got power here and ground here in this vehicle. Alright, so it came with this nice fusible link in here. So we're going to throw a 10 amp fuse in there. And that'll be all for this video, guys. If you want more content like this, like and subscribe. Let me know what else you'd like. Maybe I could do a video about soldering soon. Leave a comment below if you'd want to see something like that. Thanks.